Johnny Fongo Show. I'm Johnny Fongo. Let me tell you a little bit about this show real quick before we get started. We got a lot of news today, so I'm not going to take much time. This is a show about me sharing my research on the cannabis sector. Cannabis stocks, publicly traded and non-publicly traded. Interesting stories about legalization, the research involved in this plant. That's basically what this boils down to. So, we're going to look at everything cannabis. We're going to look at THC, CBD, hemp, and everything in between. Some stories featured. We'll look at companies that are not publicly traded. The majority will be publicly traded with some kind of ticker on some kind of exchange. Okay? So, a little bit about me. I've been tracking the cannabis sector and trading in it since 2012 when Colorado and Washington legalized. Back then, there was only maybe about 20 stocks that you could really find, and half of them didn't really have anything to do with cannabis anyway. They just said they did. So, tracked a bunch of that, researched, traded, got burned, made money, got burned, made money, got burned. Kind of a cycle there. But in the end, it's a new sector that is really pretty exciting. And I'm a big fan of the plant anyway, big fan of investing, big fan of trading, and I'm a big fan of research. Okay. Now, I am not a financial advisor. I'm just a regular guy. This is just my research. This is stuff I come up with in my daily research that I do in this industry. Just basically, typing in a keyword and seeing what comes up. And a lot of these companies I know, I've been in. I'm going to do full disclosure and let you know when I talk about a company, whether I have owned it, whether I do own it, whether I'm actually thinking about it. I wouldn't mind having some of that. So that's what I'm doing here. It's not rocket science. I'm just getting my information out to people who are like-minded that might have an interest in it. So I hope you enjoy the information I share. Any stock or company I talk about is not a recommendation to buy it. It is more a recommendation to learn more about the company if it fits into your strategy. With that being said, let's get after it. We've got quite a bit of news to look at this morning. We're going to start with Natasha. She's going to talk about Canonic of Evogene Group and Tikkun Olam from Israel, Cannabis. They signed a production and distribution agreement for Canonic products in Israel. Israel is a huge market for cannabis. They have been for a long time, and it's just growing. There's a lot of exports to that area, a lot of exports to Europe from Canada. A lot of the Canadian stocks are really knocking it out of the park with that. So, without further ado, we're going to bring Natasha in, and she's going to tell us more about this story.
Thank you. Let's dig in and see what we can find out. Canonic of Evogene Group and Tikkun Olam, Israel, Cannabis, sign production and distribution agreements for Canonic products in Israel. Today 3 a.m. Eastern Time, PR Newswire. Canonic Limited, a subsidiary of Evogene Limited, NASDAQ, EVGN, TACE, EVGN, focused on the development of medical cannabis products, and Tikkun Olam Cannabis Pharmaceuticals Limited, TACE, TKUN, a leading medical cannabis company, today announced that they have entered into agreements for the production and distribution in Israel of Canonic's medical cannabis products. Canonic's first product is expected to be launched in Israel next year. Based on the Israeli Medical Cannabis Agency, IMCA, 1, at the end of 2020 there were approximately 80,000 active patients in Israel, which translates to approximately $260 million sales of medical cannabis products per year too. According to the production agreement, Tikkun Olam Production, Israel, will produce Canonic's medical cannabis products at its factory complying with IMC GMP standards using Canonic's raw materials under the Canonic brand. The agreement is not exclusive for either party, and consideration paid will be based on the scope of production and related services provided. The agreement is for a period of 2 years, or the production of products from 700 kilograms of raw material, whatever is the earliest. According to the distribution agreement, Tikkun Olam Supply and Distribution, Israel, will distribute in Israel Canonics medical cannabis products, through its distribution channels, on a consignment basis to its or other licensed pharmacies, under the Canonic brand. The initial term of the agreement is 18 months. Consideration to be paid by Canonic will be based on a percentage of sales and for related services. As previously disclosed, Canonic's strategy is to establish a value chain from genomics to end product, with cultivation, production, and distribution to be performed by established subcontractors. Tikkun Olam Cannabis is a well-recognized, leading producer and distributor of medical cannabis in the Israeli market. With these new agreements, Canonic looks forward to benefiting from Tikkun Olam Cannabis' capabilities and proven expertise, as its first products are introduced to the market next year. Mr. Vinom Sapir, CEO of Tikkun Olam Cannabis Pharmaceuticals, stated, "This is another step that increases the scope of activity in our state-of-the-art production plant, which combines advanced mechanization and technologies with the vast experience and unique knowledge we gained over the years to create medical cannabis products with very high therapeutic efficacy. We are proud to partner with Canonic. These agreements align with our strategy of increasing the revenue stream from providing production services from manufacturing, laboratory tests, transportation, and more." Dr. Arnon Heyman, CEO of Canonic, stated, "We look forward to partnering with Tikkun Olam Cannabis, a leading Israeli medical cannabis company. Signing our first production and distribution agreements with Tikkun Olam Cannabis, an established producer and distributor in the Israeli market, is expected to support the successful launch of Canonic's first products in 2022. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Natasha. That's a very interesting article. We've talked about those companies before a couple weeks ago. Some news came out on them. So it sounds like they're keeping up with it. Next up, we're going to look at a story about Green Thumb. First off, I want to go back and look at the Evogene price, which pre-market this morning is $4.80, and that's on the NASDAQ. Okay, next up we are going to bring in Clara to take a look at this story for us. This story is about Green Thumb Industries to open Rise, Lake in the Hills in Illinois, its 55th store in the nation, in McHenry County's first cannabis store on March 31st. All right, Clara, take this away for us.
Here is a story about Green Thumb. It looks like they are opening another store. Green Thumb Industries to open Rise Lake in the Hills in Illinois, its 55th store in the nation and McHenry County's first cannabis store, on March 31st. Today 7 a.m. ET, Globe News Wire. Green Thumb Industries Incorporated, GTI, CSE, GTII, XPIF, a leading national cannabis consumer packaged goods company and owner of Rise, trademark, dispensaries, today announced Rise Lake in the Hills, the company's 9th store in Illinois and 55 in the nation, will open on March 31st. Profits from the first day of sales will be donated to Habitat for Humanity of McHenry County, which is part of a global nonprofit housing organization whose vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live. We are honored to open McHenry County's first cannabis store to expand access to cannabis and well-being for residents throughout the area, said Green Thumb founder and Chief Executive Officer Ben Kaffour. Habitat for Humanity has made a positive difference in the lives of so many since its founding, and we are grateful to support their important work through financial support and by collaborating with the McHenry County chapter on volunteer initiatives. Sarah Davis, Director of Community Services for Habitat for Humanity of McHenry County, said, "The Habitat for Humanity family welcomes Rise Lake in the Hills to McHenry County and appreciates the donation and the gift of volunteerism the Green Thumb team has offered. This will make a positive impact on families in need by helping build strength and stability through safe and affordable housing in our community, and we are extremely thankful for the contribution." McHenry County is Illinois' 6th most populous county with more than 300,000 residents. In addition to Rise Lake in the Hills, there are 8 other Rise, trademark, stores throughout the state: Rise Canton, Rise Effingham, Rise Joliet, Colorado, Rise Joliet, Rock Creek, Rise Mundelein, Rise Naperville, Rise Niles and Rise Quincy. Green Thumb also owns and operates 2 manufacturing facilities in Rock Island and Oglesby, where it manufactures its award-winning branded products, including Bebo's luxury line of pastilles and vapes, Dogwalker's pre-roll joints, Dr. Solomon's medical-grade drops, lotions and balms, Incredibles gummies, chocolates and tarts, and Rhythm premium flour and vapes. Cannabis sales in Illinois totaled more than $1 billion in 2020 following the legalization of adult-use cannabis beginning January 1, 2020. The state of Illinois collected $175 million in tax revenue from cannabis sales in 2020, and is on pace for over $350 million in 2021 based on January and February 2021 tax receipts. Rise Lake in the Hills will offer online pre-ordering for adults 21 and older. Orders may be made at www.risecannabis.com. Rise Lake in the Hills is located at 270 North Randall Road in Lake in the Hills, and will be open Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Green Thumb is definitely moving forward. Back to you.
Thank you, Clara. That was a great story. Green Thumb, always one to keep an eye on. They are currently trading at $30.59 on the OTC. All right, next up we're going to look at Ram Pharma initiates clinical trials of its proprietary Netavet trademarked cannabinoid formula for multiple pathologies in animals. Okay. Pet industry is no stranger to the CBD market and the research in medicinal stuff that's going on here with the plant. So we're going to bring in Guy to help us out here with this one and explain it further.
Thank you. Here is a closer look. RAM Pharma initiates clinical trials of its proprietary Netavet (TM) cannabinoid formulation for multiple pathologies in animals. Today 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Globe Newswire. RAM Pharma Corp., including its wholly owned subsidiaries, the company or RAM CSE, RAM OTC, RAMMF, a leader in plant-derived cannabinoid pharmaceutical products, is pleased to announce that it has initiated clinical trials studying the efficacy of its proprietary Netavet (TM) pet cannabinoid formulation for the treatment of 4 pathologies in animals. The trials will be conducted in partnership with Universidad de la República de Uruguay in collaboration with leading international experts at Montreal University, Canada, University of Buenos Aires, Argentina, Safia São Paulo State University, Brazil, and University of Barcelona, Spain. Netalife is a wholly owned subsidiary of RAMM, dedicated to the production, export and commercialization of pet products, food, pharmaceutical specialties and cosmetic products for animals. More information can be found on Netalife's website www.netalife.com. The clinical trials will evaluate the efficacy of Netavet (TM) cannabinoid formulations for the treatment of the following pathologies: chronic osteoarthritis pain in dogs, Canis familiaris; chronic osteoarthritis pain in horses, Equus caballus; allergic dermatitis in dogs, Canis familiaris; anxiety in dogs, Canis familiaris. Professor Dr. Nadia Crosignani, MSc, PhD, UDLAR, Uruguay, lead advisor for the clinical trials stated, "We are, from an academic standpoint, very excited to be able to conduct these clinical trials together with RAMM Pharma and the prospects for these novel treatments to improve the quality life of animals. We are pleased to commence this initial set of clinical trials with renowned experts to advance the development of products to help address some of the most common animal ailments," stated Jack Burnett, Chief Executive Officer. The clinical trials. The clinical trials are designed to address some of the most common ailments in dogs and horses. These clinical trials are the first of a comprehensive research and development program developed by RAMM aimed at finding effective treatment